Let me ask you something. Before we bring Phil Simms on here, how many plays do you think Bryce Young could play in the Philadelphia Eagles system before he wasn't destroyed out there physically? 5'10", 185. You think he could play in that Eagles system? Absolutely not. You think he could play in Chicago? Absolutely not. You think he could play in Baltimore with limited talent except for the tight end? Absolutely not. C.J. Stroud is probably the prototypical guy. Young's the more skilled guy, but you're going to overdraft these guys. Let's bring in a guy who's got 2 Super Bowl rings and a friend of ours. Phil, why the quarterback position? I get the value at the position and why it's so important. But what's the one intangible for you? When you see a guy, you go, this is a guy I want to do my homework on. What's that one thing?
Oh, well, it always comes to this. Of course, quarterbacks are the subject on every show. Every time I turn the TV on in the morning, it's Lamar and Aaron Rodgers. Whatever. But when they're coming out in the draft, first and foremost, I don't want to hear about, certain things or whatever. First, I want to tell me tangible physical evidence that gives them a chance to be starters or stars in the NFL. Is he big? Is he fast? Does he have a great arm? Something like, I need bricks. Give me that. Then we'll go into, is he accurate? Does he make the right reads? Is he a leader? All the intangibles. But the first thing, don't tell me that somebody has it and all that. What is it? I mean, I love, that's the great cop out of all time. But I just need that. Some physical evidence where if we put it together, that it can be a big-time starting NFL quarterback.
Phil, is Jalen Hurts an elite quarterback, and would you invest $50 million in him?
Wow, that's a lot. I heard you a little talk about Jalen Hurts and could Bryce Young do what he's doing? No, but Jalen Hurts probably can't throw from the pocket and do some of the things that Bryce Young can do. I think Jalen Hurts had a terrific year. I was on his side the whole time, thought he should have been in the MVP, or he was in the MVP race until he got hurt. I thought he was going to win it until he got hurt. But, it's a tremendous team. I'm not taking anything away from him. Everybody gets mad about this all the time. But he's a good leader. He's big. He's strong. He has special attributes, his running and gaining tough yards by a quarterback that are terrific. But is he a top NFL thrower? No. But he took advantage of a great team. They made an offense that I think really fits him extremely well. It's not about, we need a great thrower and passer of the football. Because their talent is so good, Dan, they get really a lot of good looks and all that. But that's not to take anything away from Jalen Hurts. With all quarterbacks who win the Super Bowl have some things on their team that are really, really good, and they happen to fill in the gaps and make it work. So,
see, I've said this. We had Jimmy Johnson on, and I even asked Tony Dungy this. And Phil, I need your thoughts on it. I don't want to pollute the question to you, but I just don't think you can build a football team around a dual threat guy. And I think Baltimore is going through that now. And that's kind of what they have here. And you put $50 million in this guy's hands. And again, he's done all the things that you want, winning and environment, all that stuff that you talk about. But boy, can you win a Super Bowl with a dual threat quarterback in today's NFL, knowing the kind of punishment they're going to take?
Well, this is a great subject, and I love talking about this because I've looked at it a lot and talked to many people, and they kind of tell me things, coaches, I just go, oh, that's really interesting. And let's just go to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson doesn't need an offense that's specifically designed for him. He does not. Dan, this is me, and I think most, like even that organization probably would agree with what I'm saying here. He is a really, really good throwing arm. He can be an excellent passer of the football. His biggest knock, I think, when I watch him play, he's not his throwing. I think he has an explosive arm, compact release. He has the size and all that, but he is an unbelievably aggressive decision maker. And if he wasn't quite as aggressive, which, you know, over time you lose that and you become, you know, manipulate it and do whatever, it would bring his percentages up, you know, all those things. I get tired of hearing about, oh my God, he doesn't have great weapons. Yeah, he probably doesn't have top of the line. They missed on draft picks, or these guys just weren't who they thought they were. But man, they built arguably one of the greatest run games in history. And that team was capable of going to Super Bowls. It was capable of going to the Super Bowl this past year. I listen, they had the Bengals beat. We had a quarterback sneak.
Yeah.
I mean, and if Lamar would have stayed healthy before the season, I said, man, I'm going to pick the Baltimore Ravens to go to the Super Bowl. And then I chickened out. I don't know why, because I think I'll do this, trying to be a little different. And my pick would have been Baltimore and Philadelphia if I'd have just went with what I thought was chalk to me. But, hey, the Ravens got a lot of talent. And Lamar Jackson, let me go to this. If he's just in a normal offense and passing, look, he's going to scramble and get his runs. We don't have to. Yeah, they're always going to do a design run or two or a few here and there. But make that transition. I know they wanted to. They were trying to. But the injuries and other things came up that's kind of stopped that. And here's my last thing. When you're running with the football as a quarterback and you break the line of scrimmage on a design run, whatever it is, you determine how much punishment you want to take. I played 15 years. I never ran the ball once and got, whoa, you know, blindsided and hit. Oh, I didn't see that coming. When you run, you determine the punishment. And Lamar Jackson's been hurt twice in his career. Where did he get hurt?
In the pocket.
In the pocket. The pocket to me is much more dangerous than running the football. It's much more dangerous because people fall on you. Then you can really get caught. You think, oh, I got it. And you make another look, and then somebody throws their guy and smashes you.
But I never thought of that, Phil. So you have more control over how you're going to take the punishment in open space than you do in the pocket because, look, you got a front door, back door, side door that you always have to have in your mind. And so you think that inside that pocket, you basically control more of your destiny when you're in open space.
Absolutely. You know, Lamar, all those years, I watched every damn play. You know, that's my job. And I watched Baltimore because they're always one of the top teams. And I would watch games, and every once in a while, Lamar would take a big hit. You know why? Because he'd be running, and he'd see the guy coming. He would turn and try to hit the guy first, which, you know, I went, wow, that's pretty cool that you are able to do that. But it's also, why are you doing it too? I think he had to do it every once in a while just to let them all know that he was pretty physical too. But I just believe this, and I'll go back to this too. When Lamar Jackson came out, I waited a little bit to watch him. And then my son called me, who always has to do this, and he goes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, that's it. That's all I want to hear, you know, whatever. And, of course, he got crushed because he liked Josh Allen. And so did I, by the way, a lot. But
I still do.
Yeah, of course. And I like Lamar just as – but when I watched Lamar Jackson's games and highlights, first I watched the highlight. You know why? Because I want to see how good they are when they're really good. As George Young said, give me their 20 best plays. That's who they're capable of being. Now can our coaches coach him to get there. So, but when I watched Lamar Jackson's highlight tape, Dan, I went, hell, this might be the best damn thing I've ever watched. Besides Adrian Peterson coming out and Barry Sanders. You know, when I watched theirs, I was like, I've never seen this. Now, I don't remember watching Deion Sanders or seeing him or anything because we were in the league about some of the time we crossed over. But that's what I think. So I think all this Lamar Jackson talk, I hear it all the time. And look, if you put him in a passing offense, he's going to hit the passes. He's got a powerful arm. And then if he doesn't like it, what's he going to do? Look out. And how do you just all out rush him or any guy that's extremely quick and mobile as him? You always got to be careful. And it's always the thing on your mind. I talk to defensive coordinators and I watch them on the sidelines during the week. I talk to them and they're getting ready to play Baltimore. And they go, every play you stand over there and you're like, what's going to happen? And then so when they tell me this, I watch the game on TV or something and I go, I can see it in their face. Oh, hope he doesn't run. Can we stop him? You know, things like that. It's really unbelievable. So this whole thing with him with the Baltimore Ravens, hey, look, I'm worn out by it. I understand it from both
sides. They
had
3 years, Phil. They had 3 years to get this thing done.
Yeah.
And why do you think they balked?
Look, there's always more to the story than we know. And I don't know when it'll come out. It always comes out, of course. You know, it will sooner or later. But I think the Ravens, I'm just going, they're trying to offer him. They offered him a decent contract. You know, of course, it's great to me. I'd love to have that. We all would love to have that. But, you know, I don't know. It seems like it's going so far down the road here that I don't know if they can make it work. But also, and I hear this when teams, well, we don't want to do this because of Lamar's style, make a bid. I just go, you know, you're judging it the wrong way. I really mean that. This guy.
I see where you're going, and I want to circle back here a little bit with Hurts, and you tell me if you agree with this. I don't believe Jalen Hurts has the talent that Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson has. However, what I do think, and you mentioned something, Phil, that I said, his aggressive style of play is same with Allen. I mean, dude, this guy gets home field advantage if he doesn't drop the ball on the ground against Minnesota with the back of the goalpost. He's got, I mean, you watch some of the decisions those two guys make, and then you watch the decision that Jalen makes. I think he runs that RPO, like you said. When he gets out in space, he gets down. He's smart. He does a lot of Russell Wilson stuff. Do you think that's a fair valuation of him? That he may not be as talented, Phil, as those guys, but he plays the game a little smarter.
Well, it's just a different style, different offense. I don't think there's really – I know that he had a tremendous year and all that, but I just don't look at the team or whatever and just go, they're just judging. They need him to do everything. I think when you talk about Lamar and Josh Allen, it's just a little more of a burden.
It's different.
The whole football team. You know, I look at Baltimore's team, and if I had to – I mean, I don't look at Buffalo and go, oh, wow, Buffalo is loaded. Look out, they're a Super Bowl favorite to me. I kind of thought that before the year. I worried. And, you know, you can ask the guys that work with me on Sundays. I just go, man, this Buffalo team, they worry me. They're not powerful. They're not fast. They're not big. And who's the stars? Well, they got Stephon Diggs. That's always the first answer. All right, let's go from there. Where do we go from there?
Yeah.
Well, you know, yeah, that's what I thought.
Don't you think their situational play calling in the second half also had a lot to be desired too? Because I thought Brian Dable always kept him in the guardrails. And look, Ken Dorsey's a Miami guy. We're boys. I love him. But, you know, he was learning on the job too a little bit, Phil, there, right?
Well, you know, Ken Dorsey did he did a good job. I'm not going to say it terrific, but you know, you gotta be in that job, and you know, you got to earn a few stripes. Then you can be really tough. I mean, Brian Dable, he manipulates players better than anybody I've ever seen. He's right up there with anybody.
Better, as good as Bill?
Absolutely. He's right there. That's who he is. That's who he is. He's the modern day Bill Parcells. He's ripping you and laughing as he's ripping you. And I don't know. He's got a lot of stuff that I understand, and it makes sense to me now what was going on in Buffalo and why the Giants had such a good year, because he just has a way with people. He knows how to work the room, Dan. That's the best thing to say, you know? It's like a restaurant owner walks through, hey, how you doing? How you? Good to see you. Yeah. Keep spending that money. You know, and that's kind of Brian Dable. He did a terrific job and gained the respect of the players by coaching them hard, but also having that give and take too that you also need to make sure you don't alienate the players by coaching them hard.
Eagles still the team to beat in the NFC East?
Oh, my God, yeah. And there they are with 2 first-rounders. And when you know it, good for the Eagles.
$20 million in cap space, too.
Wow. And all these edge rushers coming out in the draft. I have not looked at them yet. That's one of probably the next thing. I haven't done the offensive lineman, watched them, but offensive linemen and edge rushers seems to be a rich draft for those guys. So it wouldn't shock me. I saw a mock draft. I'm not big at looking at them and see the Eagles picking up 2 edge rushers. And I go, it's just the rich are getting richer. But they managed and created the team in a way, and you got to give Howie Roseman. He was the what do you want? The front office
executive of the year.
He was the front office guy of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, man, and he might be again this year after this draft's over and what they've done to kind of keep this team together and everything like that. And I am interested. I haven't heard much about Jalen Hurts, where this is going to go, but I don't think he's going to get $50 million. I don't know. That seems. Is that what has it been reported?
Yeah, no. That Phil, what they're saying is a Mahomes type deal. You know, and I talked to Lee Steinberg about this, and if he's working with Clutch Sports on trying to get a deal like Mahomes, it's team friendly, Phil, where they get off ramps where they're going to be able to restructure. So, like when they lost Orlando Brown, they can go get somebody. So Jalen's going to be kind of in that kind of business relationship with the Eagles where they're going to have these off ramps on a team friendly deal. And I'm hearing somewhere a little north of Kyler Murray, and I thought maybe the ceiling would be what Lamar got. So it's going to be somewhere, I think, between 46, 47 and maybe 50 million, somewhere in there.
Well, good. I mean, great for him. And look,
Phil, you don't think he's a $45 million a year quarterback, do you?
You know, Dan, I mean, I really mean this. I don't care what they make. Good for them. And I don't really get
but that tells you where you are in the pecking order, Phil, because the next guy up, you know how it works. I'm not saying whether it deserves the money, but if you're going to make him the highest paid player in the NFL, do you think he's worth the Mahomes money?
You know, I'm not there, but he's very valuable to the team. Do you have the next guy? You know, look, they had Gardner Minshew as their backup. I like Gardner Minshew. I thought he played well in Jacksonville, can do all that, but he doesn't fit the offense, not even close. So they kind of seem when you watch him play, he threw for a lot of yards against the Dallas Cowboys. And they scored points, but it just wasn't quite who they are and how they built that football team. So just saying that, can you find they'll find a backup this year that really fits.
No, well, they got Marcus Mariota in the room now.
Well, I know that was a great pickup by them because Marcus Mariota, I don't know, everybody was bashing him all year. I watched the Atlanta Falcons. I go, the Atlanta Falcons are tough. Marcus Mariota is playing tough as hell. He's throwing the ball pretty good. Then he had a couple so-so games, and by God, next thing you know, he's out of here. But the money.
I want to stop you on something, Phil, because I think it's important what you said. And why we're talking about, again, Mahomes and the kind of Mahomes money. If you took A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith off that Eagle team and left him with Dallas Goedert, like Kansas City had to do with Tyreek Hill and get him off that team, and put a rookie running back there, could Jalen Hurts go to a Super Bowl without A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and be a guy who's going to lead your football team the same way? Mahomes broke records, single-season record, 40-some-odd touchdowns. I don't see Hurts as that guy. I think he needs more of a team around him, Mahomes doesn't.
Yeah, Mahomes has really good coaching, and they've built it. They got a good – listen, they both have one thing in common, those teams. What? They have really good offensive lines. And who wins the Super Bowl with a bad offensive line? I mean, the closest I've seen was the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, Bengals.
But, you know, you talk about the Eagles, to me, their whole team, what sets them up, there's many things, the good old line and all this, but their receivers really set the table for what you do on the defensive side. It puts you in you're in trouble no matter what. In other words, you try to come up and stop all the runs and the give and goes by Jalen Hurts or the power running with the offensive line. They're gonna pick you apart with short passes and all that, underneath, outside, whatever, fake runs, get it to them quick. I mean, the looks are so easy for Jalen, and that just I'm just giving a lot of credit to the Eagles, how they designed that offense and how they knew they need this wide receiving group to scare you. And it's the tandem. It's got to be one of the top 3 or 4 in the NFL. Those two guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Phil, let me ask you about Daniel Jones. Boy.
Hey, how do you like him now, everybody? Hey, come on. Daniel Jones. And, you know, I got to turn TV on and listen to smartasses, and they go, 40 million. Shut up. I mean, it drives me crazy. It really does. You were wrong. You were wrong, my man. Admit it. Oh, but yeah, Daniel Jones, I guess, they did okay, but he only threw 15 touchdown passes. You know, I get so tired and sick of hearing that stuff. Well, okay, he threw 15. It's not like they got inside the 5-yard line and tried to embellish his stats or do this. They were managing games in a very tight, concise way to get rid of the clock, to keep the game close and find a play or two to win. And Daniel Jones didn't do that. He went way beyond that. I thought he had a terrific year. Of course, playing for the Giants and being up in this area, I watch all the games. And I really can't think back to a game and just go, well, maybe the Eagles, where you weren't even okay. Most of the games I watched and just went, wow, Daniel Jones played really well. And a lot of those games he played great. But
he needs more help, right, Phil?
That's the understatement of the century. I mean, give him some help. They did a great job of managing the team, calling plays, him running it, and give him some help. And, but the narrative was already set with him, right, Dan? It is with all these guys, and they can't back off of it. Well, the first 3 years he finally had a good year, and so what? He's 1 of 4. And it's wrong. It's wrong. And it's stupid. And that's why I can't even watch TV some mornings as I'm working, because I know what's going to come out of the mouth of all these kind of guys. And everybody's an expert on the quarterbacks. And let me tell you out there, you're not. So, and I'm not either, but I know more than they do. And Daniel Jones was terrific this past year.
You think the Giants would be in the market for DeAndre Hopkins if they're ready? Because I'm hearing the Cardinals are going to release him because of the money, $19 million, and then there's $15 million the next year. It's just too much on the cap, especially since they signed that quarterback to that 46-1 per. So, again, somebody like D-Hop, he was on pace before he got hurt, Phil, for 1,300 yards and 113 catches. I mean, this guy's still got some gas in the tank. Are they in the market, you think, for a veteran wide receiver? Because look what Amari Cooper did for Dak. Look what A.J. did for Jalen. I mean, if we're going to make him go to another level, look at what Stephon Diggs did for Josh Allen. Would Brian Dable be in that room?
Yeah. Well, I would say this. DeAndre Hopkins, even watching him last year, he has an unbelievable presence on the field. It's unbelievable.
I think he's the best third down receiver in the game.
Oh, my God. I mean, just get it close. That's all. I've never seen anything like it. He's long arms. Of course, the biggest – I don't know who's got bigger hands, him or OBJ, but, they can hand catch everything. They can make the contested catches. And people are scared. Defensive backs, even though I don't think DeAndre Hopkins has that top speed anymore, they're still scared of him. When I watched him, and I kind of watched him quite a bit, all of his plays from last year, that, they're going to give him a lot of plays, and he can make those contested catches. And I think he just has a presence that can change your offense when he's on the field. Do the Giants, I have no real feel at all. Would they be in that market or whatever? I'm going to say no. I think they might draft one here this year. But I think they've done a lot with their receiving core. We'll see how it comes together and see what they think when it comes draft day.
Well, I got to do this to you, Phil. A couple last questions for you here.
Let's do it. I got plenty of time, and I want to talk.
Okay, good. Well, then let me throw this at you here. Well, as a kid growing up in the New York area, and, of course, Robus Dudley back there hanging up, the whole history with being the Giants. Great. Well, let me go here and say this. When the most famous people in the building, when you're a Jet fan, is Joe Namath and Fireman Ed. Okay. I mean, and you got a guy who bangs on his head all day long, and that's the second most popular Jet in history. In my opinion, I mean, isn't this appropriate at Aaron Rodgers and the Jets? I mean, this just looks like a nightmare made in hell, and it's a perfect scenario. Do you think this thing gets done right around the draft, or do you think it gets done at all?
Oh, I think it's going to get done.
Okay.
I mean, I do, and I don't.
What's your take on Rodgers?
I think he'll be motivated. I think it's will push him. And, I think there would also be, sometimes when you're nervous at an athletic event or it's coming up, it makes you just grind a little harder and get a little more ready than ever before, especially when people doubt you. So Aaron Rodgers, no doubt he had a subpar year. So a lot of people are saying things about him. Well, it's really going downhill and all this. Well, he's a prideful man. There's no way you're as good as he was for as long as he has been without not having a lot of pride and all that. And, of course, there's nothing better for him than to say, I'll show you. So I think it's going to work. I'm excited for it to work just from what I do and what you do and all that. And as I would
take you in a 60-minute football game over that dude 9 times out of 10.
Oh, God, no. Listen, Aaron Rodgers,
Phil, come on.
He's still one of the greatest throwers of the football in history.
He is, but get this. I tell people this all the time. Phil, Tom Brady looked like Ichabod Crane coming out of college. What's the difference, and why is that guy's resume that way? You know why? He's an overachiever with a lumberyard on his shoulder, and he's a savant, and he outworked that guy in Green Bay. You're right. Best thrower of the football, most talented guy I've ever seen throw the football, but at the end of the day, he didn't do the work that Brady did. He outworked him. And, Phil, you know this better than anybody. You can outwork talent.
Listen, Tom Brady, you're right. I'm going to say that Bruce Arians said it once during the year or 2 years ago when he was the coach or whatever. And he goes, I've never been around a quarterback ever. And Bruce Arians has been around a lot of good ones who likes to throw the football more than Tom Brady. He doesn't mean throw it in the games. The guy is always on the field throwing. And I just go, yeah, no, I would like to do, when you're great at something, you can't do it enough, man. It's awesome. It's like eating a steak and taking a bite and going, that's the best steak I've ever tasted, but I'm not going to eat the rest. No, you're going to eat it. And it's the same with him throwing. His mechanics, I'm a big mechanic guy. There's always reasons why somebody is a great thrower and a passer of the football, just like golf
work is amazing.
Well, it's everything. It's the body. It's how you do it. But long story short, Tom Brady technically could be one of the most perfect mechanical guys I've ever watched throw the football. And that's why he could do it so much. That's why at 44, he still could drive it in there when he needed to. And, I always say he was, oh, shoot, my phone. Sorry. And I always say, I got to turn it off here, that he was great in the pocket. And why was he great in the pocket, Dan? Because he had no choice. From high school, his whole life, he had to survive by working the pocket. Even he was never a threat to run out. Even in high school, they're going, don't worry about the quarterback. He's not going to run.
Better than Montana in the pocket?
Tom Brady's the best I've ever seen.
Wow.
He's the best I've ever seen. And I don't know. Joe Montana was really good, but Tom Brady was really special.
Phil, isn't it more about also, besides the technique, isn't it about also processing the intel that's in front of you also? That, some guys, I always said this about Vinny Testaverde, who I played with. I love Vinny to death. Right. You look at Bernie. Bernie saw the field. He was nowhere the athlete that Vinny was. But you know what he did? He just processed everything. He knew where to go. He sidearm, 3/4, whatever. He got it there. Vinny kind of meandered back in the pocket. His footwork wasn't always the best. He kind of tapped a little bit back there. And you're like, how can that guy not be better than that guy? It's just because somebody told me, Bill Walsh told me, it was about processing the intel in your feet.
Well, I don't know what to say. I know what to say to that. Vinny was so physically gifted that I'm sure that slowed down the process for him of processing what he's doing sometimes. Huh. And, I always say this too, when you control the football, which so many of these good quarterbacks do now. I was thinking about this driving home today. I was outside actually watching some young quarterbacks throw. And I just go, when you throw the football and you know where it's going to go and you don't even think about it, you got great control of it, you become a tremendous decision maker. You don't doubt yourself. You're not worried about throwing it out here anywhere or whatever. You're going to put it exactly where you want it. So the window could be tight, but that I got that little lane and you fit it in there. Where if you're a little unsure about how you're throwing it that day, then that lane's tight and you don't take advantage of it because, you're not real sure. And the other thing is too, and this, I really believe this is true too. Quarterbacks are throwing it better than ever. One, just because they work at it more. It's part of the job more than we've ever seen it and all that. But the football, Dan, the football they're throwing, my gosh, it is totally different from 20 years ago.
Huh?
You ever picked up an NFL?
How so, Phil? How so?
It sticks to your hand. You're like, wow.
So it's not this smooth, because I remember you guys used to always have to do this. You'd get the ball out of the box and you'd throw the ball, because I saw Rivers doing this. I go, what are you doing? He goes, I'm throwing it against the cement to rough it up.
Absolutely.
And those footballs were slick as hell back in the day.
You see that orange jersey or whatever you want to call that color? What is that when you call it? That used to be the color of footballs. Now they're black.
Huh.
You ever watch an NFL game?
Yeah. Back in the day.
It's black.
Yeah.
And that's because they can now the NFL, they don't even care. And really, it's a great move. When we ran it there, your football, you used this last week in the game, we marked it. And I go, so what? You're not throwing it, let it go. I got in arguments with more officials over the footballs. But now, rightly done by the NFL, let them fix them the way they want, what makes the quarterback happy. And, I get them from the Giants every once in a while and I always bring footballs to workouts because some kids, I forgot my football coach. I want to say, well, then go home. But I give him the ball, Dan, and I just pick it up and go, oh my gosh, these footballs are terrific. That's why college players, I think, for two reasons. The football, the texture's great. So don't laugh. But they're rounder, and it's just, to me, the NFL ball is easier to throw than a college football.
I got to ask you this about Dak Prescott. I mean, Phil, $49 million this year. Dude.
Wow, is it really?
If not now, when? I mean, Phil, you've got to think, if you're Jerry Jones, you've got buyer's remorse here on this a bit. I mean, Phil, again, I mean, I keep throwing the money out there because it affects the cap and the talent on your roster when you're losing guys every year because you're paying the quarterback. So maybe I should have prefaced this, Phil, when I said the reason I bring the money up is it affects your defense. It affects your O-line. It affects everything on your roster when you're not winning with that guy who's making a majority of the cap. I mean, when does this become a point where Jerry goes, all right, man, I mean, we're not going anywhere with this?
Well, I haven't looked at it. Is this the last year of his guaranteed deal?
I think he's got one more year. I think there's another year next year, and that's going to go $53 million.
Yeah, you know, see, I like I said, I'm not really, I don't really, Warren Sapp kind of yelled at me one day. We were doing Inside the NFL, and he says, listen, there's two things you don't talk about. I go, yeah, what are they? Family and somebody's money. And I go, good point. I won't.
Or his waistline. But hey, it's all good.
But let me just say this about Dak Prescott. You know, who we saw early in his career, that guy, you know, he was running and making plays like Jalen Hurts, but he's kind of lost that. I know the injury, but time takes it away from you too. NFL quarterbacks, here we go. Here they are. Let's just say they're equal to the defense and speed, you know, which is not true, but just to say that. Here's the NFL quarterback after 1 year. Oop, not quite as fast. 2 years. Oh, 3. Oh, all of a sudden, what does the defense do, Dan? Faster.
Yeah.
So the separation comes quick. And your ability to be a dynamic runner can die fast in the NFL, because what NFL player is going to train like he did in college? Quarterback I'm talking about. What one? Nobody. You're not going to go in that weight room, you know, all the time during the off season, do everything. They run you to death. You know that. And you come out of college and it's about that's the fastest you're ever going to be. And you're slowly going to lose some of that. So that's why we see quarterbacks run, whatever. They make the transition, because sooner or later, you got to make that living in the pocket. And my point being this, I don't think Dak is an elite thrower of the football. I think that's part of the thing that hurts him. I thought he lost control of the football way too much this past season. You know, good quarterbacks don't lose control of it.
Was that because of the injury to Pollard at the end there, too, when they lost him and didn't have a running game, Phil?
Well, that hurt him, yeah. But, you know, also it was the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
And in their place and all that, and that speed and everything else. Did they have a chance to win the game? Yes, they did. I watched that game close and studied it, and it was there to be had for the Dallas Cowboys. But he didn't make the read or didn't make the throw, let's say 4 or 5 times in the game, that I thought was really the difference in the game.
Final question here, okay? Tell me I'm wrong here, or tell me if you see my point here. Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan does not protect his quarterback when he was the OC with RG3. Every quarterback he's coached in San Francisco has been hurt, from Garoppolo to Lance to Purdy. This guy had some sort of half-ass blocking system against the Eagles. They took his guy out in the third play. I mean, Phil, he is so brilliant at designing plays, taking Deebo Samuel and doing things with him. He's got a history of not protecting his quarterbacks and getting these guys hurt. Am I off base when I say that about Kyle Shanahan?
Well, I think a little bit, you know, RG3 and certain things, the running and the aggressiveness of what they did, of course. And RG3 wasn't the guy that ran down the field and avoided contact. Okay. I mean, he took some big hits during his.
So his style of play kind of resulted more in that injury.
Somewhat. But, you know, too, there's many teams that do it in the NFL, and they still do it. And, you know, I've always disagreed with it. When you try to take a tight end and you try to block a defensive end, then I don't know what to say. You know, here we go. That's what happened to the 49ers. Their tight end was trying to block. Who got the Hassan Reddick, is that
Hassan
who?
Reddick took him out.
Well, Hassan Reddick went around the tight end like he was not even there, and then Johnson comes in the game. And what happens? Well, they put 2 tight ends to block him. Well, he went right around him and not almost, I don't know if I can't remember now.
Oh, he hit him too.
He hit him too, right away. I mean,
right at the end of the game, Christian McCaffrey's quarterbacking.
I know, but that's the old West Coast, what they all like to use that certain play and have the tight end block the backside and all that. And, I don't know. I was raised differently for 15 years in the NFL. Defensive lineman, you're always going to be blocked by an offensive lineman. We're not going to put a tight end on you. I'll put a tight end on you if we have the tackle too, but not a tight end and running back. We'll get them both over there. Oh, yeah, that'll slow some of these guys. Listen.
I'm sure Jaworski wishes they had listened to you early before when they were putting a tight end on LT.
Oh, my God. It really is. But I don't know what to say. I see it every week in the NFL, that same blocking scheme, and I swear I'm a little tainted. It seems to never work. And
it never does. Phil, since we're based in Philly, Reggie White, Lawrence Taylor, you had to start your defense with one of those players. Who would it be?
Well, the best one I ever played against, of course, was Reggie White. And he hit me so much that I think he actually liked me at the end. So, I'd probably tell you these stories. I'm going to say it real quick. We're playing in New York. It's really cold. It's just the worst weather to ever play the Eagles in. And Reggie White and Jerome Brown, they are having a field day. I'm throwing it, and they're blowing me up. And one time I throw it, and they both hit me, take me to the ground. I'm like, oh, I'm moaning a little, like trying to get up. And they pick me up, and they're slapping me on the butt, going, come on, you can hang in there. I can remember like it was yesterday. Come on, hang in there. Come on, you can do it. And I thought, are they showing me respect or are they making fun of me? But, I say this all the time. It wasn't about football. It was about survival playing.
How about this one here? I got one for you. This was sent to me here. And he goes, I hear you're having Sims on. Ask him how his pisser was for about a month. Ask him how he felt after I hit him in an exhibition game. And I'm going, what? He goes, ask Phil how he felt after we played him. Because I remember when I was a kid, the Giants and the Jets used to play exhibition football. It was like your last one before the season started.
It was real.
And you guys played all the time. He goes, I laid Phil out so bad. I heard him 4 weeks later.
He was coming free, I guess, on a game. They stunted, and he's coming up the middle unblocked. And I see him. It's like slow motion. And my tight end is open about 7 yards in the middle of the field right behind him. And I had to make a decision like this. Am I going to stand up tall and throw over the top of him and let him hit me, or just throw it away? Well, I stood up, threw it over the top. He hit me right here, Dan. And I flew through the air, landed on my rear end. I had a bruise and a blood sac in my butt, my bone. But right here, my chest bone, for, I'm going to say 10 years, I would go like this and it would pop because of that hit by him. I mean, between him and Joe Klecko and Reggie White, that was enough. Well, God, Charles Haley. Oh, he was.
Oh, man, you played. And back then, Phil, they could annihilate you guys.
There's no roughing a damn passer.
Phil, you get more roughing the passer now from Boomer.
Oh, no. I rough his ass up. You got it backwards. I'm Reggie White. But, Phil, I heard you talking.
What's that?
No, just real quick. The draft, I'm really anxious to see where these quarterbacks go. Somebody asked me last year.
Are they really that? I look at the class and go like this. Are they overdrafting them again?
Yes, of course. And the way you're looking at it, they're overdrafted. But, everybody's.
Would you take Bryce Young #1?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me this question. I'll say this. Bryce Young is one of the best football players I've studied all offseason.
Absolutely.
I will also say this about him. He probably has the best feet of a quarterback that I've ever watched in all the years that I've watched.
He's 5'10" and a half, 185, 190.
I've met him many times, all that. He's really, really good, and I don't know. I really got a stinky – it's kind of changing now. Everybody's starting to talk about the Panthers are going to take Bryce Young. So I don't know.
I talked to Frank Reich, and we had him on the program about a month ago, and I asked him about the process. My problem with CJ Stroud is this, and Phil, help me if you buy into this too, because I look at CJ and go, so Ohio State's had a program for 157 years. They've never had a quarterback come out of that program that was a decent NFL star to go along and be somebody at the next level. I'm going to believe that this guy is going to break that trend and is that guy, because I look at the corners in the Big Ten and go like this, Phil. The windows are wide open. It's not the Southeastern Conference. The Southeastern Conference has better athletes. And I look at it and go, I watched him against Indiana kind of struggle. You're telling me you think this guy's going to come in and break the mold? I don't believe it.
Hey, look, I'm not gonna hold that against him. I don't care about their listen, I don't care about their history. I don't care about Ohio State's one-loss record. I don't care about his damn completion percentage or his stupid ass quarterback rating. I'm judging him. You know, separate it all and judge just him. That's why.
What do you think?
We don't know if he can move. Well, I watch Ohio State every week on TV because that's the great thing about the job. On Saturday, I'm done working. I got what we're going to do, and I'm going to watch college football. I know a bunch of people at Ohio State, a lot of their players, so I'm always clued into their games. And I think he's really good. And I think this whole talk, well, is he mobile? Well, then you didn't watch the games enough.
No, he's mobile.
He's a very, I mean, he finally showed the Georgia game. He showed it all year long. I don't know what you're looking at. He moves to throw the ball.
I think he moves a lot like Deshaun Watson. I think he reminds me of that kind of guy back there that he's looking to make passes, making plays with his arm, but he moves around and creates passing lanes with his feet, and he's good at it. I mean, you see him good at it, Phil.
Yeah, I've watched him a lot. I mean, like I said, I watched him. I talked – in fact, I was talking to one of the other quarterbacks on their team, and I thought, well, this guy is going to pick CJ apart. No. He's a great dude. He works really hard. He practices well every single day. He's a really good decision maker. He can throw it in the tight spots. There's a lot to like about him. But I'll go back to this. Are we overvaluing a lot of these quarterbacks? Yes, but it's just a position that's crazy.
I mean, I look at Anthony Richardson and I go like this. He's 50-some-odd% completion percentage in college. And like I said about Sam Darnold, he turned the ball over a lot in college. Dude, you think that's going to improve in the NFL where you're not going to be a turnover machine like that? It's not. So,
I'd say this to you. Here's my take. It should change. He's going to be coached differently. It's going to be a more friendly offense for him to have success.
Phil, to your point here, check it out. I said the reason that Josh Allen is developing into the player he is, how much good coaching do you think he got at Wyoming?
Well, how many guys, as I said, I had so many arguments about Josh Allen when he was coming out. And I mean, I lost friends over it in the business. Oh, he's so inaccurate. I said, hey, inaccurate. First off, he's playing in Wyoming. They played in blinding snowstorms, the wind.
No talent.
He threw more passes off the faces of receivers.
Good junior year, not the best senior year because of no talent.
How many guys got drafted off that team in those 2 years?
I can't think of one.
I don't think there was any.
What do you think of the kid from Kentucky, Phil?
He's
a Connecticut kid. Went to Penn State and then transferred. What do you make?
Yeah, no, I know him well. Listen. Last summer, Boomer actually said, "What do you think about the quarterbacks next year?" And I said, "Well, okay." I said Bryce Young and of course C.J. Stroud. And I said the guys that really Levis we'll see at Kentucky, but I said Hendon Hooker at Tennessee. I go, he's one you got to really watch because I studied them all last offseason.
Hey, he's flying up the board too. They're saying he may jump into the first round.
Wow, really? Oh, who said that? Go look at my Twitter account. About late February, I said Hendon Hooker. Mobile. I can't believe it.
He's flying up the board now.
Well, yeah, because everybody opened their eyes and we got off this, the two quarterback thing. Who's it going to be? And yeah, I kind of find it funny all of a sudden. Oh yeah, Hendon Hooker. Well, where were all these? When I watched all these lists, I never saw his name up there at all.
Why do you like him, Phil? Because he wins games?
No, 6'3", but he looks like he's 6'5".
Huh? So he's a big dude.
He's a big dude, and can really run. That's the other thing. He might be the second best runner in this whole draft. behind in quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson might be one. Then I would say Hendon Hooker is the next best mobile quarterback. I mean, he can really make plays. He's accurate as hell. And here's my other one, Dan. Yeah, I love this one. Well, you know, that offense is so different in Tennessee. It'll be a tough adjustment to the NFL. Shut up. Be quiet. What? We're running an offense. He reads it. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's a little different. Why? Because they line up wide. They're still running all the same plays everybody else does. I think Josh Heupel's offense is really clever. And I would honestly think this. I think some teams in the NFL are going to copy some of that stuff. And it did make the reads where most of the time they would line up. And if there's 3 guys on 2, well, I'll look over here. Oh, there's 2 on 2. Oh, which side am I going to go? Think about that. And then so it was really well designed. He's very accurate, spins the ball. And if he didn't have this ACL, I think he'd have been a top 5 or 10
Phil,
pick.
if Bruce Arians was on 3 weeks ago, and I asked him about these dual threat guys, and he said, I think it's here to stay. I mean, we're seeing more of that, but he also said this: if you're going to have a dude like that, you better have a dude that resembles that. That's your backup quarterback, because you can't have where you have a pure drop back guy sitting back there behind a guy who's a dual threat guy. I think the Eagles ran into a little bit of that issue because Minshew, they gave him the RPO. He ran out there. Dude, like a kicker could outrun the guy, and he didn't fit in, and it just was a bad look. So do you agree, Phil? If you got a guy like a Hooker or a Richardson or someone like that, or Lamar Jackson or Hurts, you got to have somebody that duplicates that style of play.
Well, you don't want to have an offense that fits the starter, and then, oh, here comes the backup. Now we got to eliminate 30 or 40% of what we're doing. It doesn't even make sense. Now, it's not easy to do, I think, for some of these teams, but I think what you're saying is true. And I think more and more teams, as we saw Philadelphia with Marcus Mariota, that's a great fit. And, you know, he's a veteran and all that. I think all these teams are going to have to start doing that. And it's going to be hard sometimes. You know, it's like, oh, we got Josh Allen. Let's go find another Josh Allen to back him up. Well, good luck on that. But the good thing is, yeah, the run game changes, the scrambling changes, but you're still going to run the majority of your pass plays and all that with the backup quarterback too. So,
Phil, when you're working with quarterbacks, do you see more of that style versus the old traditional drop back that you deal with more in your, or are you still seeing? Because to me, it looks like harder to find the 7-step guy versus the guy who could get out in space and use some athleticism. I'm seeing more of those guys. Are you?
Well, one, you know, when you're playing the position now, you don't have to run a 4.5 to be successful.
No.
If you can get out of the pocket and pick up 5 yards, then to me, that's great. Break whatever it is. But my son, this is all he does, is he teaches quarterbacks and schools them or whatever. So I'm with him all the time and doing it. And look, we teach them all like Patrick Mahomes. That gives you an example. How to throw on the run, what to do, move, throw, run left, throw right, all that, and because that's the game. The game is now we've opened it up, and it's spread out more on the field, and the quarterbacks are going to have – I think they're going to escape, get out of the pocket. Now can you make all those throws? You know, sidearm throws, dip down low and throw it across the field, run right, throw left. Oh, you can't throw back across the field. Well, we don't say anything when it's completed, but as soon as the ball's, oh, you know, you can't throw the ball across the field. That's another, just take that one and burn it. That's the stupidest thing. Hell, we'd lost 300 good plays in the NFL if we said you couldn't do that. That's part of the game now. You got to be able to do those throws. And that's one of the things I look at with these quarterbacks in college. By and large, I would say none of them are very good throwers on the run because they don't know how. They run out here.
Does that include Bryce Young?
Bryce Young is one of the better ones, if not the best.
Okay. CJ's
pretty good too. But, you know, when you're on the run, you got to change your arm angles, and it's got to be natural. It's really easy to teach. It's the easiest thing to teach there is, Dan. I mean, kids, once they learn to do it, they go, yeah. I said, yeah, no, it's great. Now you see the fun. Now you're going to make the defense go, let's don't let this guy get out of the pocket because he can really throw on the run. And that really happens to young kids and high school kids that I'm around and watch. It's amazing. You would be amazed if you came and stood behind us as, let's say, 6 quarterbacks who we think were pretty good throwing in front of us, and you watch them work out, you would just go, oh my God, high school kids, you know,
it's incredible to see the development of some of these guys.
Patrick Mahomes changed the world for everybody.
He sure
now
did.
It's
Phil, do you think the best quarterback is in next year's draft? Caleb Williams?
Oh, Caleb Williams. Who else am I thinking of? Michael Penix.
How about the kid at UNC? That kid Drake.
I watched him a little here last week. I'm not going to give an opinion on him yet. It didn't blow me away.
Jordan Travis, FSU kid.
Where's he from?
Jordan Travis, the FSU kid.
Yeah, I didn't study him. I tell you who really jumped out at me last year and caught me by surprise was Bo Nix at Oregon.
Bo Nix, a lot of experience, right? Was at Auburn and then transferred up to
big, can run, and throwing it better in an offense that makes him, that Auburn offense. Oh my God. And he was down there. Oh,
what are you talking about? It was like your Giant offense.
No, that was, at least we had good pass concepts.
Hey, Phil, do you ever regret? I watched you one game. I was still in high school at the time. I watched you throw for almost 600 yards or some shit. And I was like, holy shit, this guy could really put a lot of yards up. But then I thought you were Aikman before Aikman, where you played in a structured with guardrails this big. Did you ever wish, Phil, that you played in an offense that truly showcased more of your ability to throw the ball? Because obviously you could. I watched every Giant game. You could have thrown for 350 yards, but you didn't, and you stayed within the structure of the game.
We didn't build our team that way. The team was built to be big, physical.
Yeah, but not every quarterback, Phil, stays in that scheme the way things are. I mean, Dan Marino did not. The thing Jimmy Johnson told me why Dan Marino and him had problems was this. He wanted to come in and change the offense. Marino went like this. We were 4th in offense last year. Jimmy wanted to run the ball to help him. Just like the way Elway got helped when they put Terrell Davis in there. Dan didn't want any of that. He didn't want to deal with that. That's why there was friction.
Well, I think that we were both. I mean, many times, just think about when we won our first Super Bowl. I mean, those last 6-8 games of the year, we were crushing it throwing the ball, I thought.
You did.
Yeah. So,
especially in the Super Bowl.
We weren't built with receivers. It was a different age. I'll never forget this. There was an article written, and the guy writes, I can't believe it. Phil Simms in the last 2 years has thrown for more yards than anybody in the NFL, except who? Dan Marino. And okay. And, but it was so condescending. I'm like, oh my God. But when we had to throw, we did create a few things. I'll say this, Dan, we were not even close. The best seam throwing team in the league.
Huh?
I mean, we created the back shoulders. I mean, we really did. As I tell these stories all the time, I'm real quick to you. We're playing the Steelers last exhibition game. I'm pretty careful. Just want to play my first half and get out of the game, so I don't make any really tough decisions or whatever. We're watching the film. Mark Bavaro's running the route. He's covered by the linebacker doing like a outside deep route. And Parcells goes, why don't you throw it to him? I said, because he's covered. I'm like, I'm ready to argue if we're going to argue about this. He's covered. He goes, Simms, you don't understand. When he's covered, he's open. And I didn't even argue the point. I said, I got it. I know what you're talking about. So no matter what Mark Bavaro did, I don't care if the guy was all over him.
You were just throwing it to areas then.
I would throw it behind him, throw it low, throw it high, and the damn guy never dropped it. And it became, and I'll never forget, I'm in the Pro Bowl. John Robinson's the coach, and I put in 3 of our plays. He goes, put in some. So I got on the board, and he goes to me, I just don't know how y'all do that. He goes, I watch your tape. It's so dangerous. I go, it's not dangerous to us because that's what we do. So during that game, I throw like 3 seams and hit them all and hit one for a big touchdown. And I'm getting ready to go out for the next series once. And I said to Coach Robinson, anything you want? And he goes, yeah, throw some more of those seams. And I just laughed. I was going, oh my God. He was some cool dude. I loved him. And I think am I right or wrong? Is he still on the sidelines at LSU?
John Robinson?
John Robinson was down there with
Ed Orgeron?
Ed Orgeron. And I thought I saw him again this year, and he's got to be I don't know how.
Oh, well, I know this, that he had a place in San Diego. I know he had a place out there because obviously him and Zampese and the old general manager of the Washington Commanders, Bobby Beathard, they all kind of like hung out and such.
Yeah.
And I know that he's been doing – Ed Ogeron's a dear friend of mine, and I love him. And I remember seeing him there. I don't know if Brian Kelly –
Brian Kelly might not have kept him around, Yeah,
but it's funny you should say that. I never thought about that. And I'm like, holy cow, man, that's right. John Robinson was a great coach, man.
Man, listen – I always say this. It's amazing how he was this close to greatness. They never could get over the top. They were so close, so much.
They ran the hell out of the football like you guys did, too. I mean, they just totally ran. Hey, O.J. Anderson, think he belongs in the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Sure. And we got a couple players that I don't even hear their names.
I get Bavaro on, and he's a friend of mine. And I go to Mark, and Mark goes, "What do you make of the tight ends today?" He goes, "Dan, you think Jay Novacek's a tight end?" I go, "No, I don't." And he goes like this. He goes, "Sills, you think Jason Kelsey's a tight end?" I go, "No, I don't." And he goes, "You see, you're from my era." And he goes, "Do you actually think any of these tight ends are Ozzie Newsome? Or do you think that they are Kellen Winslow?" I go, "No, they're not." And he goes, "Well, here's what I did. Phil threw to me on third down, and Phil threw to me, and we moved the sticks. We ran the ball, and we killed teams at the point of attack." He goes, "What I did was I knocked guys. Guess who I played against? Bruce Smith. Yeah. I played against Reggie White. I played against all these guys, and I blocked the shit out of them, and I would also catch. You think Jay Novacek is blocking Reggie White?" And I went, "I don't think so. No, I don't."
I know we've been long. I was to say this. I just got done watching all the tight ends in the draft.
The kid from Notre Dame. Do you like him?
Yeah, he doesn't. I just don't go.
I got a new Phil Simms mannerism. Is this? Do you like him? Yeah.
I mean, I watched, of course, Notre Dame games because Jack Cohn is a kid that we know really well.
Yeah, the kid from New Canaan.
Yeah. So, no, he's not New Canaan. That's Drew Pine.
Oh, Drew Pine. That's right. Drew Pine was
Jack Cohn was a year before. They went 11-1.
Yeah. Yep.
I'd ask him a lot about him, so I watched him. But yeah, he's a really good. He's a good player, but I don't look at him as a guy that's going to change the game. I don't see the explosiveness. I know he had a very productive career at Notre Dame. I like him, but it just didn't. It didn't jump off at me when I watched him on TV, and it didn't jump off at me when I watched 4 of his games this year.
What tight end do you like today?
Oh, geez. Oh, in the league? Well, listen, the way the league is.
No, Phil. What tight end would you want to play with?
Well, you mean I would take Bavaro, of course.
No. The guy in the game today that you think that you would want to play with today.
Oh, Travis Kelce and Kittle just because. All right. Yeah.
What do you make of the kid in New? What do you make of the guy in Philly, Goddard?
I like him too. But tight ends now, it's hard to find. As I was watching all of it, I go, yeah, very average blocker. The whole draft. I don't know if I remember. I have to look at my sheets again because my mind's mush after watching them all. But I didn't see any that were I'm going to say, oh, they could line up as a tight end and actually block a defensive end. No chance. I didn't see one of those guys. All of them had the same look. It's the new thing.
Yeah.
College football we're going to see 10 tight ends every year. They all have the look, but they're all the same guy.
Yeah.
Except Darnell Washington down with Georgia.
Yeah. That kid next year that's coming out, that Bowers kid.
He's everything.
He's everything that people are advertising. He looks the size of Bavaro with big. The hands of Kelsey.
Yeah, he's got it all. He can run, he can block, he can play in the line of scrimmage, play in the slot and all that. And the big tight end from Georgia is coming out. I don't know if he's not going to go in the first round, but I think he's 6'7". He's huge, he's big, and he's going to be able to block guys at the point of attack there and stuff like that. But most of them are all 6'5", lean, and they're kind of runners and catch the ball. And most of them do this, Dan. They're behind the line of scrimmage and they go across and try to angle block and kick people out. They don't. Yeah. They got the real tight end at the line of scrimmage. They put the other guy over here. You run over there and kick the guy out or just get in the way, but you don't see him line up and just dominate defensive linemen or outside linebackers. So, but it's a new era. It was what? Running backs. Then
it's soft, Phil. It's soft.
I don't know what to say. The NFL wants scoring. So if scoring goes down,
they want to spread you out, Phil. They want space. They don't want hitting. They have wide receivers now with illegal contact, defenseless receivers. The quarterbacks can't get hit. Dude, I'm telling you, I tell everybody this. Can you imagine Jerry Rice and Joe Montana in today's NFL where you couldn't hit him or mug Rice? They'd still be scoring.
Hey, listen, I was with a group of young quarterbacks. It's been 3 years now. And we were all sitting around. We were actually having a beer. And I just was having fun. Went, oh, man, you guys. And I'm not going to tell you the one that said it. I'll tell you off the air someday. You know, you can't get, you know, you can't touch, you can't hit you low, all this stuff. And the one goes to me, Phil, you don't understand. I said, well, what? He goes, it's life and death now. And I just sit there and I go, you know what? You're right. It's hey, Phil. They can run so fast if they hit you, I'm telling you, they'll blow you up. So you got to help these quarterbacks somewhat. Hey, how many did play last year, Dan? How many guys played the whole year? 12?
Very few. I think Josh Allen did, actually.
He played the whole year. Yep. Mahomes played the whole year. Yeah. They all hung in. But, man, I forgot how many we played during the year. It was incredible, the number of quarterbacks that played in games last year.
I have to sneak this in on you. Waller, getting him to the Giants. What do you make of that move for Daniel Jones?
Well, I hope it's going to be a huge boost to what they do on the
injuries have been an issue for him a little bit the last couple of years.
Well, I just want to say to Darren Waller, buckle up. Because that head coach, one of his main objectives is going to be, we're going to get you to really play. Not saying he hasn't, but it's just a different mentality of what he's had as a pro. This coaching staff with the Giants, I'm telling you, they got personality. They relate to their players. And I know I'm an ex-Giant. You know what? I don't care. I'm just telling you the truth. I watched that team, and Dan, I was astounded what they did this year. That team.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of talent on that team.
Oh, I mean, it's
the same. To me personally, I think Dave Gettleman, the biggest mistake that he made in that entire time when he was there. I mean, Reese and Coughlin were great at putting talent on the field. They couldn't find an offensive lineman for 5 years. They couldn't get one guy right in the draft at that position. And one of the most important positions, you can't have a first-round draft choice at quarterback, Phil, in a $2 O-line. And that's what the Giants went through it's a decade now, Phil, of really not getting it right in the draft.
Hey, listen, I say it every year, and I know you know because you're old school, but still got enough, whatever. But when you look at the playoff teams every year, almost by and large, it's always the best offensive lines.
Oh, look! Hey, Phil, look at the Eagles. They have a Hall of Fame center. They have two $15 million tackles in Mulata and in Lane Johnson.
Right.
If you're Jalen Hurts and you've got 2,000, you got this. You got a play calling center that sets the blocking scheme, Phil. And you got one guy making 15 and one guy making $18 million as your bookend tackles. You want to know how you develop a quarterback?
And two really good wide receivers. And a tight end. Really,
and a tight end, it's $15 million.
I liked Quez Watkins all year. He just couldn't get the ball because those other two freaks out there, So, hey, look, they did it. Listen, the design of their football team, to me, they had one weakness. Well, maybe a couple.
They couldn't stop the run that well.
I didn't think they were a good run defense.
They weren't.
Yeah.
They were 16th. After they got Sue, Phil, after they got Sue and Linville Joseph, they went from 22 to 6. And here's the other thing they did against quarterbacks. Keep an eye on this next year. What they believed in with Gannon was they didn't want to give up the plus 25. So what they would do, they'd keep everything underneath and play defense from 20 to 20 and then do something in the red zone and say they didn't play against very good quarterbacks a year ago. So when they did, Dak 77%, or you get a quarterback like Ryan from Indianapolis, 77%. Even Andy Dalton was 80%. So they completed a lot of passes in the middle and their run defense. And I think Andy Reid in the second half of that Super Bowl took advantage of that with the crossing plays because they tried shifting and they tried passing off receivers, and they confused them with those routes down there. I think that was the best second half of play calling I've ever seen Andy Reid have in his entire coaching career, because they just, I thought, took the Eagle defense to the woodshed in the second half.
The Eagle defense all year long, just me. I didn't look at the numbers. I don't know what they are against motion. And you know what? Again, I don't care. They
couldn't cover tight ends, Phil. They had trouble covering tight ends and backs out of the backfield, the linebackers.
Right.
And it reared its head a little bit against Kelsey.
But they really struggled with teams that, and what did Kansas City do? They started showing motions and stuff.
Yep.
And that was, I thought that's where they really struggled. And Andy Reid, of course, knew that, and they pulled it out every time they needed it. I mean, it was really clever. It was clever stuff. But you could see, and I'm sure you watched it close like me, but when the guy went in motion, they're like, "Oh, you got him! If he comes,"
they were trying to pass it off, and then I thought they got confused in the secondary.
They did. I think it's a tough thing to do, passing them off all the time, and then you got to stay with him, try to run across the formation. Oh man, you got no chance because they're going to stop, come back. There's so many things, so they almost paralyze you. You got to sit there and react instead of trying to chase. So
absolutely. Hey, Phil,
the Eagles did a great job. I think they're going to be one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the whole league again next year. And, listen, this quarterback thing and the draft, all that, I'm excited about all of it just to see where it all unfolds and where everybody lands.
Phil, I appreciate it. Good Friday to you. Happy Easter to you and your family. You are such a friend of mine. This has been a great classroom to sit here and listen to all this, man. And
you know what's good about Easter or anytime? Everybody's coming to my house here. My wife is going to make dinner, whatever. My 2 boys, what do you think we're going to talk about?
Hey, so do you ever get away from it?
I know. Somebody says, so when y'all get together around the dinner table, what do y'all talk about? I said, what the hell you think we talk about? We want to talk about what we know. And we all pass information and talk and, have some arguments.
Your boy's public enemy number 1 in Philly because he talks shit on Jalen. He goes,
listen, it is what it is. When you're in this business, he's honest.
I get it.
But it's taken so wrong. If you say one little thing. Now,
trust me, Phil.
Yeah, I know you know. But you just can't worry about it. People get on me too.
Watch this, Phil. I said this about Jordan Davis. I go, he's the 13th pick in the draft. He's overdrafted. You can't draft a guy, Vince Wilfork, at 13. You need a pass rusher up that high. He's more of a 20 guy, 25. Yeah. People are like, what are you saying? I go, he had 9 sacks in 43 games at Georgia. He's never going to be more than what he is now. This is who he is. He's a run stopper. He had no sacks this year. And I said, Vince Wilfork is a good player. I said on draft day, he's either going to be Vince, that's the bottom floor, or he's going to be Fletcher Cox. Okay? He's either going to be one of those guys. I mean, those aren't bad ball players. One's just better than the other.
I liked him when he came out. I studied him really hard, Jordan. I liked him.
I just don't think he's very productive.
He's not going to be Fletcher Cox.
Right.
Fletcher Cox.
Would you take at 10 a Jalen Carter? He's here. I
want somebody.
I played with Jerome Brown, and I compared him 3 days ago to Jerome Brown.
Well, then I would take him. Jerome Brown.
I've not seen a guy, and I've never compared in my 30 years doing broadcasting since I left the game. I've never compared anybody to Jerome. And get this, Jerome off the field too a little reckless in his life. I want to have an interview with him. Yeah. Hey, we all make mistakes. Me and him made mistakes at Miami together.
Sure.
Again, I want to talk to him. My conversation would be the interview, but when I watch the tape on him, he's a 20-foot guy, which means this. All I need is 20 feet of tape to watch and go like this.
Yeah.
He's the second best player in the draft to Will Anderson. I mean, if he's there at 10, I've got to take this kid.
Oh, okay. I have not studied him yet. I will probably early next week after I do a few things. I'll do the defensive.
And text me. You'll go like this. This guy controls the middle of the line. He go. Phil.
Well,
there's there's probably 3 guys that flash in this draft: Bijan Robinson,
Yes.
Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, and maybe the kid from Texas Tech, Tyree Wilson.
Yeah.
So those kind of guys that when you watch the tapes on everyone, you're going to go like this. You'll put a circle around them like we used to when we did 56.
Right.
It's that kind of stuff right there when you look at those players.
Well, when you're saying all that, and I'll let you go here. Bill Parcells came down the weight room, whatever year that was, and he stood there and said, "Hey, what's going on, coach?" He goes, "Sims, our life is about to change." And I said, "What?" He goes, "Detroit Lions are going to screw us," or something like that. And I go, "Why are you saying that?" "Well, the damn Eagles are going to get this guy, Jerome Brown." And I go, "Is he as good as they say?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, he's really good. He might be better than Reggie White." And I just
Here's
went,
a flashback for you. There's a flashback for you right there.
I was hoping Coach was, kind of exaggerating. And of course, once he got in the league, I said, "Oh my God, he's right." Jerome Brown was he going to be a Hall of Famer? Yeah. Isn't that something?
He's a Hall of Fame talent for sure.
He was
Bill,
talented.
let me let you go.
All right.
Happy Easter to you. Thank you, brother.
Man, thank you, man.
You bet.
Anytime. Let me know.
Great time with Phil Simms. Thank you so much. Guys, do me a favor. Please hit the like button. Absolutely. Got it. We went over an hour with Phil Simms. Fantastic stuff. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.